Hey, everybody, welcome. It is my sincere pleasure to have on my show a man I have wanted to interview for over a decade. Man, I am pleased. Yeah. No, I am a happy camper.
Oh no.
Father Jayson Landeza. Everyone calls him Father Jay, and we first became acquainted we were both on City Brights. And in the Father J has a number of legendary hats, but most notably, he is the pastor of St. Benedict Catholic Church on 82nd and Bancroft. He is a chaplain for both the Oakland Police Department and the Fire Department, and he grew up in Berkeley primarily. He's a child of the East Bay and St. Mary's. And Father Jay, welcome. How are you? How are you, Father Jay? Welcome.
Are we here? Are we on still?
We're on.
Doing well. Good. Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of an unstable connection, but I guess we can still hear each other. Okay.
Yeah. You're coming through loud and clear on this end. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah. Hey, Father, tell everybody, first of all, from your position, what's happening with Oakland spiritually?
That's a good question. I think a lot of churches are because we've been closed essentially throughout this past year. Churches of all denominations have been struggling, at least being able to meet physically. But I know that a lot of churches are doing online services. Spiritually, I think there's a real desire for healing in this city, and I think a lot of churches are doing their share of work insofar as providing not just spiritual healing, but physical healing. A lot of churches are involved in food drives. A lot of churches are involved in COVID testing. Some of your larger churches, I know that I think at some of Allen Temple, Center of Hope, other large churches here in the East Side are providing vaccines that are being distributed by FEMA. I know my church has also been contacted by FEMA. So I think there's if there's some difficulty or shortcomings in this pandemic with regards to spiritually addressing the needs of our people, at least we're trying to look at other ways to do that. I have to say it's been a struggle, like for everyone who's had to maintain an online presence. Having that physical presence of people in the pews and in your churches have been, I think, a real struggle.
It did actually occur to me. I hear like the Resurrection. There's a Resurrection Church, Revolution Church that has online programs. Allen Temple has one, but yeah, it never. And I should account that I'm in suburban Atlanta, Georgia. I haven't found a church I'm ready to attend.
Sure.
I'm used to being back in Oakland, right? But
right.
But you do miss the fellowship, and it's a big part of our lives on a weekly basis.
But I think for a lot of people, they've had to find ways to deal with this lack of interpersonal contact, particularly in congregate settings. I mean, Zoom has been a real godsend for a lot of people because they've been able, not just in a spiritual realm, but certainly in a lot of different other areas. A lot of people like myself get zoomed out of meetings, but it's still a mechanism by which contact is being made. And the religious entities are utilizing that kind of technology in order to maintain contact with their congregations, and large and small. So that's at least how spiritual entities here in Oakland, religious institutions, continue to remain in contact with their people. More so now because we have seen an uptick in violence, and particularly in the East Side, which has been really a deep and profound sense of concern for a lot of us who've been here for quite a number of years. We've seen this ebb and flow, but particularly over the past few weeks, the number of homicides that have taken place, particularly on the East Side, has been just really pretty disturbing. There isn't an evening that I don't hear gunshots and gunfire. I keep my department radio attuned to all the different calls throughout to the city of Oakland and throughout from police and fire, and I keep that on throughout most of the time. And just the level of violence that's taking place these days is just really really worrisome and scary for that matter, and sad.
What is going on? I understand it's the pandemic and the loss of money, but what else is going on that's fueling this, particularly in Oakland? Because I haven't been back in about a year plus. I've been here with my mom in Georgia. I still have my place in Adams Point. But
Sure.
the last time I was back, within 40 minutes, my car was broken into. And I thought, oh,
Sure.
wow. It was, people said, oh, it's just a common thing. And I thought, what's going on? What is going on in Oakland and in the Bay Area and our urban cities where this is happening, but in particular in the Bay Area with smash and grabs? And
well, I could certainly speak not on behalf, but it's just an observation of what's going on in Oakland. I think certainly that the economic effects of the pandemic have driven some folks to going to the route of crime, to whatever. There's an intense gang battle going on in East Oakland. LaRon Armstrong, the new chief, had spoken to quite a number of us as clergy about the kind of battles that are going on, particularly related to gang warfare, essentially what it is, within the Black gangs and Latino gangs. So that's seeing an uptick over the past few months, and has been really quite a number of the homicides that have taken place here in the Deep East. Again, this combination of the economic effects of the pandemic, perhaps even the emotional effects of the pandemic, and as well too ongoing gang warfare that's taking place in these parts.
To what degree? It seemed like we had a nice little nirvana just around the time the pandemic first hit,
right?
And then the first monies came in,
right.
And people sheltered, and then all of a sudden, it seemed like just as the money ran out, the crime went up. But
so the other thing too is I know that the Oakland, and I've been a part of that personally, the part of the Ceasefire program for the Oakland Police Department had been doing some really noticeable work and work that can be directly attributed to their efforts on the part of Ceasefire to work with the most at risk. Ceasefire is a program, it's kind of a wraparound program that really tries to address those people who are at most risk of a number of things. Most risk of being victims of violent crime, most likely to have been perpetrators in years past, and maybe perhaps are on the verge of themselves of incarceration, and trying to get them the resources they need to avoid that kind of return to a lifestyle. And the funding for that had been cut because of the larger cutbacks taking place in the city of Oakland and specific to the Oakland Police Department. So I know that unit had been cut, its funds depleted. So, and a good portion of the work being done there was to allay the possibility of homicides taking place in Oakland. So, I can't say that's the full reason why you see such things happening, but it contributes to why you see an uptick in violence. That kind of program, those kinds of programs, and that kind of funding, which was vital to the work in trying to reduce homicides here in Oakland. I know that firsthand because I work with Ceasefire folks and doing interventions along with folks from the Oakland Police Department. So no, I know that firsthand how well that program works.
And also mixed in with that, we've had COVID-related illnesses and death, right? How has that impacted the community from your perspective?
Could you repeat that question? I think I lost you halfway through there.
Sure. On top of that, we've had COVID-related illnesses and death. And how has that impacted the community from your perspective?
Oh, I think I live in one of the highest rates of infection communities in the Bay Area. The Fruitvale, particularly the Latino community, portions of East Oakland, it's affected insofar as an uptick in both infection and death rates. The concern right now we're having is the availability of vaccines to those affected communities. Initially, the Coliseum was selected as a location because it's in the midst of a targeted location, and yet the Chronicle has reported within the past 24 hours or so that 41% of those receiving vaccines at the Coliseum were Anglo, and which doesn't speak to the amount of targeting that's taken place to the affected communities of color. So the attempt that FEMA is trying to do insofar as connecting with congregations within the affected areas, I think it's a way to try to allay this disproportionate number of infections and deaths that are taking place in places like the Fruitvale Latino community, as well as my neighborhood, which would be primarily African American.
How would also, how do I ask this? Let's ask it. How's the government doing? Our local government helping with everybody? I mean, what are they doing right? What could they be doing better from your perspective?
I'm short on assessing blame on a lot of different levels. I can't. It seems as if the state and the feds are running the vaccination programs. I'm not too sure the full extent to which the city is being involved or has been invited to be involved in that process. I think the city government's just got a whole lot in their hands right now. I think a good portion of their attention, in light of some recent events, have been looking at anti-Asian violence.
Mm-hmm.
As an Asian Pacific Islander myself, I sense quite a bit of anger around all that. Having spent a lot of time I was born and raised in Berkeley. My parents are from Hawaii. My dad's Filipino. My mother's Chinese, Hawaiian, and Irish. So there's a real strong API part of who I am, and a good portion of my time on Saturdays in growing up in Berkeley was spent at Swan's Housewives Markets, and we'd go to Chinatown afterwards. And so there's a real sensitivity towards the Asian American community, having grown up around a lot of that as a kid growing up. So it's really, it's a tough one because I'm not sure what local government can really do insofar as being able to address whether Asian or Latino, whether it's the issue of violence or the virus that local government care. I think we're just trying. They're charged.
We still have Father Jay. I think the screen froze a little bit, but it'll unfreeze on his end, I believe. And let's see here. I think, hey, Father Jay, if you can hear me, you can also go out and come back in the instance that you froze, and we can take it, go from that point, because it. So I think on his end, that's what's happened. Let me see here. I think the smartest thing to do is to, so there he goes. And I think what'll happen is he'll come back in. What I might try to do, however, is make this, let's see here. I think on his end, he had that. Sometimes when people use StreamYard, other software would take up their RAM. And if he has something else open, that may do it. So, but what we were talking about, we're launching into a conversation about, I have more questions to ask him regarding his thoughts about the anti-Asian violence that has occurred in Oakland and the Bay Area. What I'm going to do is try to reach to him oh, here he is. Here's the father.
Again.
And he's back. There he is. I was telling everybody about StreamYard and RAM and everything. So to pick up where we were talking about with this, I'm here. We're here. I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, there you are. Your screen you're moving.
Hello.
Yeah, you're moving and you're smiling. And you're coming in. There's a bit of buffering right now, which will clear up in approximately 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, I believe. And it's still buffering. So interesting. I'm wondering if there's a way to get a booster over there. Or I have an idea. Let's see here. He is...
Sir.
There he is. Hey, Father. Hey, Father. It is coming through. I have an idea. Hey, Father, you there?
Hello.
I'm here. Hey, Father. Yeah, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we do part 2 on Zoom? It'll only take me a second to set it up, and then we can pick it up over there. We got 15 minutes here.
My end or your end? What's going on?
And I can mate them. Is that cool? Is that, or anyway, I'll reach out to you via Messenger.
Jesus.
And yeah, see if I can do it that way. Did you hear me? By chance? Here you are. Let me try calling you. And let's see here, like that. Let's see here. There he is. I'm calling him on Zoom. There he is. Make sure. And then I can fire up Zoom and see if that works. Sometimes StreamYard. Hey, Father. There he is. We're connecting. Hey, Father, can you hear me? Waiting for him. Let's see here. What I'm going to do is start the Zoom and then see if I can. Yeah. Hey, there he is. Hey, Father. We're connecting. Hey, Father.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, I had an idea. I can pick this up on Zoom. It only takes me a second to set it up, and we can go that way.
I can hear you here.
You can hear me here? Okay, cool. Let me key you in terms of the screen here, like that. You can hear me, and let's see here. Oh, yeah, there he is. Okay, so I'm seeing him here.
I can't use any, but I can see my.
You can see your face. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me go try that again. Let's see here. Oops. Okay, there's my face. And he's requesting video. So we got this on we're doing it like this, folks. He's requesting video, and I thought I put the video on. Let's see here. Is that it? Is that it? He's requesting video, and I'm trying to do the video. It's there. Can you hear me? You see me? No?
Yeah, I can't see you, but I can't see you there.
Okay. Let me try that. I thought the camera is in the upper right-hand corner, right? And I press it.
Let me see. Camera's up right-hand corner. That's allowing that's me to see me. I'm not too sure what.
You can see me now, right?
You to see me.
Yeah, I can see you, but you can't see me, right? Let's see here. There is the font. There he is. Technology, folks. Let's try this. Somehow try that. It's requesting video. I'm requesting his.
The chat. Yes.
Okay, now I can see your video. I can see. I'm saying
yes.
Okay, I can see me. Trying to talk to you. Let me try something here. Is that nope?
Right. It's a video. Vinny would like to video chat and press counting.
Okay, or I can hear your voice. I can hear your voice loud and clear. Here we go. There he is. Okay, cool.
There we go.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here is Father Jay, like that. So, so as to continue,
I can see
yeah,
room. I can see your room.
You can see my room, and yeah, this is me right here. So
There you go.
yeah, so we've got it like this, folks. This is how we've got it. This is Father J, the Zoom, and this is me, and there's the screen over there. So let me see if I can move this out just a little bit, like that. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so there we are. So Father, as we were basically saying, why do we have a problem with Asian American violence or violence against Asian Americans, or is it something else? You know. So
That's a good question. I think my own personal thought. I think the incidents that are taking place in Oakland tend to be. My gut would be crimes of opportunity rather than crimes of race.
Yeah.
My gut would be that those who are targeted because they're seen as old, not because they're Asian. I think incidents of anti-Asian violence throughout the country, a lot of those can be directly attributed to anti-Asian sentiment, which has been around for centuries, essentially. Beginning with the early Asian, mostly Chinese immigrants who were the gold mines. That's been such a part of the American response to the Asian presence since the gold rush and before. So this is, again, a manifestation of that. As you look at it on a national level, I think you're looking at specific to Oakland. My guess would be targeted because of vulnerability, not necessarily targeted because of race. Although it's easy for us as Asians to say, what's the deal here? I mean, why that? I mean, for Asian Pacific Islanders, that we don't belong here. I mean, my parents were born and raised in this country. My mother's parents were born and raised in this country. My father's mother was born and raised in this country. So, we've been in this country for generations, and yet we're always seen as the outsiders. So it's easy for us to take on that sense of ourselves as outsiders being targeted unfairly for violent crimes. I would say that a good many of those are indeed violence against Asian Americans because of our own ethnicity, particularly in light of comments made by the previous administration, as well as this attribution of the disease to its Chinese origins, and somehow scapegoating us for that. I think the robberies that are taking place in Oakland, specific to Asian Americans, have been, again, more of a crime of opportunity rather than something more nefarious than that. So
I'm glad you brought that up also, because it seems like there was one publication that said there were 700 hate crimes against Asians in San Francisco over the month. And I thought, and they said they called a hate crime against Asians any assault that happened to a person who happened to be Asian. And I thought, well, if that's the case, there are a lot of Black folks who are hate crime victims too. And the hate crime statistics are even higher for us. And what bothers me is that we now have this, who is the most attacked group sort of thing. And now we're comparing statistics. I'm thinking, oh God, do we have to go down this rabbit hole again? How do we get out of this?
Yeah. Well, it's not we're not pitting each other. We're all in the same group together. As people of color, we're all the same together, the same struggle together, right?
Right.
To live coexist peacefully among ourselves. Particularly those of us in Oakland are just aware of the crime element. That's just the nature. Maybe I'm more attuned to that because of where I live in Deep East. But it's never a sense, and as someone living in Oakland, as someone born and raised in these parts, in Berkeley, as an Asian Pacific Islander, I would never feel that I was targeted because of my race. It would be because someone happens to think I have money or something, or a credit card, or that somehow my 2008 Honda Fit is worth stealing. As far as I'm concerned, me, shit, take the car. It's more of an opportunity thing, right? If you're crazy enough to want an old, jumped up Fit, knock yourself out.
Go to town, right?
Go to town. Your money's in there. Right? That ain't gonna work, So I think there's a real sensitivity on making sure this isn't kind of seen as polemic, but rather a consequence, at least within our city and the Bay Area. At least a good portion of those incidents are incidents of opportunity rather than, I don't want to say opportunity, but just folks, just preying on the most vulnerable, who happen at that point, Asian American. So.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to merge our call, because we have a video call here, and I'm trying to merge it here onto this messenger call and then bring it in to the StreamYard environment. I've never done this before. Let's see how this works. It's like, what I love about tech is you can, here's the messenger call. Yeah. And so there it is. And so there, all I need is your video part to show up there. And, we're back in business in a way that I've never tried before. It's just really neat. So you've got, that's video. That's my video. Your video should be appearing here. It was on your for some particular reason. It's not. It was appearing on your.
Don't worry about.
Okay.
Don't worry about my video. The other video is most important. Your ability to hear me is more important than your ability to see me. So.
Oh, sure. I can see.
I'm game to whatever.
Yeah, definitely. So as we were saying though, it really pains me that it seems like Oakland is the target for these efforts to tear us apart. We had the hangman noose controversy. We've had some incidents that I believe like that one were staged deliberately to cause a political disruption. How do we stay together through all this? What is it that we're not doing through all this from your perspective?
I think there's a lack of dialogue between the African American community and the Asian community. I think progressive elements of both communities have long been associated with each other, but only recently. So I try to be a part of any other group of African American clergy because my parish is 95% African American, which is very unusual for Catholics. But just recently, I was on a conference call with the Masters of Oakland, and for the first time in my many times meeting with them, I identify myself as Asian Pacific Islander. No one's ever asked, right? Because it's not. The commonality is that we all pastor by parishes, but it's just to open that kind of dialogue between members of the African American and Asian American communities, and would be a start. And that has rarely happened. A good many of the clergy organizations that involve African American churches have really no interaction with Asian American, right? So that's one. It's as powerful as the African American churches are in Oakland. There's rarely an interaction with the Asian American churches, or for that matter, Latino churches. So that's I think would be helpful to begin the dialogue, or at least continue a dialogue.
How does that?
I think there are.
How does that start? Because it seems like you're on to something that you could spearhead, right? It seems like you're wanting to do that. How does that start?
Well, it starts by interacting with those groups of pastors that work primarily within the African American community. And second, I as police chaplain for Oakland, it's not unusual for me to be called on homicide scenes. And oftentimes after homicides, there are rallies, there are vigils to remember the person who died and support their family. And oftentimes that involves African American clergy. There's no reason why Asian clergy members couldn't be a part of that as well, to be of support, to stand in solidarity and unity with African Americans who and so disproportionately lose their lives to violence here in Oakland. There's a reason why we can't stand with our brothers and sisters in that time of need. So, in this most critical period of time, when there is a profound sense of hurt within the African American community because of violence, would also be an opportunity for us as Asians to stand together in comfort and support in prayer. I do that just by nature because, again, I'm pastor of a Black parish and chaplain for Oakland Police. But that could certainly be something that could be extended beyond those two parameters.
We tend to hear a lot about police acting badly, but as chaplain for the Oakland Police Department, what are the police going through with all of this, and how's morale?
I think it's struggling. I think I think I'm connected with a number of and Your typical patrol officer is still if they're connected to Oakland, folks who are born and raised in Oakland, there's a real desire to want to make a better place. It just because of the kinds of because of the misdeeds of other police and other departments, and at some level at Oakland throughout the years, there's always been this mistrust of the police in Oakland. But I know that the officers that I know and work with have a real strong desire to serve the city of Oakland, and are really at their wits' end with regards to the amount of calls for service that individual beats, particularly in the very busy beats here in the Flatland, incur on a really regular basis. You know, people are. I know that citizens, residents are angry about the lack of response time and when they call 911. But I'm also aware, for having been quite a number of times in the dispatch centers, how very stretched patrol units are in the city of Oakland at any given time, particularly on the weekends. If you add sideshow activity, if you add the level of homicides that take place in Oakland, and officers trying to meet the obligations of the calls for service coming to their beats, you got to have an appreciation for at least the level of service that these individual officers are trying to provide in light of all the different things going on in the city of Oakland at any given time, particularly in the Flatland beats and in on weekends. So I know guys are feeling burnt and burnt out and overworked and having to work multiple overtimes because of a cap for the most part on hiring more officers as the reimagining public safety folks. I think that's the council chair and Lauren Taylor, as they try to look at ways to cut the police budget. They just have to be aware that folks in the Flatlands would somehow fear the lack of patrol response if there's a continued reduction in the police budget. Yes, I think there needs to be continued reform within law enforcement in general throughout, particularly with the eyes of how police are viewed by communities of color and vice versa.
Hey,
but yeah.
Help me with this, because it seemed like in the wake of George Floyd, I thought the call would be to ban bad cops. We went from banning bad cops, or at least the talk of it, to just defunding police entirely, which is like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Why did that take over?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I think that's individual to each community. I think because Oakland has had a real contentious relationship with law enforcement from the time in which OPD hired, Southern law enforcement personnel to work in the city during during the Great Migration. City leaders, it was just like this great idea to bring white officers from the South to work in African American communities, which is, and so that began this sort of contentious relationship between law enforcement in Oakland and the communities of color, particularly the African American communities. So I think, again, you're right, the baby in the bathwater thing. Each community has to respond to what they feel is appropriate response to violence perpetrated by government aid entities, right? So I'm not sure I think that hopefully that committee that Nikki Fortunato Bass and Lauren Taylor are working on would have a more precise way of excising or streamlining budgets rather than having it kind of baby in the bathwater attitude. Because I think a lot of communities of color are worried about it. They tend to be. Right now, we're more worried about the crime that's going on here. I mean, literally, I'm 82nd and Bancroft. We hear and see these things all the time. So, it's but I think that's when you go into any next door, the Eastmont next door, into the Flatland Oakland next door groups, you'll hear that same sentiment. It's like, well, we really depend on patrol response to look at bringing some resolve to some of the issues going on here. We just can't start cutting police and thinking that somehow social workers are going to solve all the problems, right?
Yeah, because now OPD just about, I think 5-6 days ago, put out an advisory to watch out for increased carjackings. And Father, I freaked out.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought, well, why don't we just make sure we have registered guns in our cars? Because because what is anyone going to do to stop someone who just comes in front of your car or to your side and says, "Hey, give up your car," at a time when people are struggling, they need their cars, among other things.
Right. I agree. Yeah. You do that if you're in if you're in the flatlands, you do that anyway. If you're like, you've got your, I let my guard down. That was a good reminder for me to not let my guard down, because it's easier for me to let my guard down on the sunny day. I'm driving on Bancroft, going into San Leandro, on the 90s and 100s. You want to take my car? Take my car. I mean, it's kind of like, what you gonna do? I mean, that's kind of like, but yeah, you're right. It's kind of crazy times to live in, Benny.
Hey, the American Rescue Plan just passed. Does that provide hope, you think?
For a lot of folks, it does. Sure. I mean, a lot of folks are living paycheck to pay, margin to margin, margin to short. Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm just deeply grateful for the Biden administration and the Democratic members of Congress to push that through. Of course, it does. Any help to the American people is helpful to the economy. Yeah.
And we used to write for City Brights. If you were to write a blog today, what is it that you would blog about that was burning on you that you want people to really think about or do?
Wow, that's excellent. There's something about Oakland that is, I think, over the past month, the elation of having someone who was born in Oakland. And for me personally, raised in Berkeley, because she was raised, Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris was raised 3 blocks from where I grew up around the same time. So there's a uniqueness about Oakland that I think gets lost in all of what's going on. And for a lot of us whose connections to Oakland date back since childhood, this is still a very unique place to live. This is still a very neat place to live. I would rather live nowhere else but Oakland. My parents are from Hawaii. I think about, I should go live in Hawaii. Wasn't born and raised there. Don't like the weather there. Too many funky bugs there. But, I think about that every day. But I think, Oakland, this is home. There's something very neat, very special. The beauty of walking at Joaquin Miller or around the lake, the cool wind at your face at the Jacqueline Square, a Sunday afternoon with a hot dog and a nice Diet Coke at an A's game, with the sun in section whatever 325, no, not 325, 125 or something like that. I mean, there's you can't get it. It's the fog on a summer afternoon when you're up at about Skyline. I just it's Oakland Interfaith Gospel Choir at Christmas. It's you can't beat it, So I think so often we the news tells us how much Oakland is this. I'll tell you, Oakland's that, and I'm proud to be associated with it and blessed to be a part of it. That's what I write about, Benny.
I couldn't have said it better. Hey, Father, it's been 38 minutes, and I want to go out with a bang. So, what is your thought and prayer for us as we move forward?
We pray for peace on the streets of Oakland, and we thank God for peace in the White House, and we thank God for the many blessings, and we mourn the loss of all those who've gone before us, particularly those who've suffered from COVID. Amen.
Father, we're blessed to have you, and I'm blessed to have you on here, so thank God for you. And
Benny, well, thank you.
Hey, stick around in the backstage, Father. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching this, and this is actually going to be in different sections as well as this live stream, which is up, which will become a standalone video within seconds. That ends this broadcast on the Zenny 62 Media Network. Father, stick around. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome.